Today, we're honored with the presence of Clara Reyes and other members of the Reyes family. Ed is here. Ed is here somewhere. Is that right? Ed, there he is. Oh, yep. Recordings. This is a great story. A great successful story of an immigrant, Mexican, now Mexican-American, original language, and for a long time only language maybe, or mostly language with Spanish, making a big success in our community. So I want to start out, Clara, with a question for you. You were born in Guadalajara. How did you get here? How did you get to Kansas City? I think that's an interesting story in itself.
Yeah, that's something I don't know. Some of my friends says, I think your guardian angel was asleep when you went there.
Guardian angel was asleep. Uh-oh.
I was growing in Mexico, and I come from a family of 10. We are 7 girls and 3 boys. So can you imagine a house full of people all the time? And when we were growing up, my father used to tell us, education is the best thing you can have because you too many of my children, and I cannot leave you a heritage. The only heritage that I'm going to be leaving you is a career. You go to school, you get your diploma, and nobody will take it away from you. From there, you're going to work, and you're going to do whatever you think is the best for you.
And Clara, this would have been maybe a little bit unusual for a father in Guadalajara.
My father was ahead of his times. He always,
be interested in women's education and careers and a professional life.
My grandfather, his father was a doctor in a small town, and he was, and then his grandmother was also she used to have a pharmacy. Right. So they read books, and so they can really help the people from the small town. So
well-educated professional family.
They were always, yes. And I think that's what my father also felt. And he was thinking, life is hard, and you all 7 girls need to have something to do when you grow up. And if you don't want to work, save your degree. If you wanted to work, there's your degree in there. And if you get married and it doesn't work, you start working and you don't have to worry about anything. And this is the way we saw the life in a lot of people, because when you think about Mexico, you don't think all the time about small houses falling down and poor people. There's also a media class people. They go to school, they go to the colleges, professional people, teachers. When I came in here, one of my husband's friends asked me, is in Mexico there some teachers that teach you? And I said, sure. I've never seen an American in my schools. Sometimes people doesn't realize, and they think that Mexico is a country that, I don't know what they think. Because when I used to go to the schools, the children asked me, do they have jeans in Mexico? And I said, we made jeans for you. So, do they have airplanes? Yeah, I came in an airplane. So people sometimes, they don't study in other countries, and especially here in the United States, they're even afraid of the languages. You see in the airports, sometimes they don't even have 2 or 3 languages. When you go to another country, you see 5, 6 languages, you can read everything. And in here, for a long time, they were very afraid. I think now it's opening with the globalization and all the people traveling so much that you can see signs within other languages, and people start learning another language and knowing that they need more than 1 language. In Mexico, when you go to school, I went to high school, and I have to have a foreign language. But I didn't like English. I said, I don't want English. It's so hard, so difficult. I'm going to learn French.
French, okay.
And I love French. Parlez-vous français? Comme si, comme soi. I was crazy about French, okay?
So maybe you could have the first trilingual newspaper in French, Spanish, and English.
No. But so when I was invited by my uncle to come and visit, and here, I was going to the university to become a dentist because my sister is a dentist. And she opened up a small dentist offices, and she was by herself. But she always take me with her because she was studying. She just finished the college, and she was starting practicing, and she was kind of afraid, when you just start. And sometimes she asked me, "Girl, I have to do an inlay. What is it that I have to do? It has to." Just a minute. I just go and look at the books and read everything and come and tell her.
Doing her education
right.
for her. Yeah,
so
okay.
I got a lot of education through the books that she had, because sometimes she got a crown that it was really difficult to put in there. And I just went and see how you have to cut it in here and cut it in here and say it. And she was saying, "Oh, you're better than me." No, I have more time to read the books. I have more time to prepare how we're going to be doing this. So I almost was a dentist before I started colleges. And then when my uncle was an independent, my mother's brother is Barreto. I don't know if you know about Barreto.
Everybody knows Hector Barreto.
He is his half-brother. And they invite me to come to Kansas City, and my sister says, go and see what is new for dentistry. So I came all excited about it and see different things. I went to the university, I didn't find nothing different. Everything was the same, we all do the same things. In Mexico and United States, you put breeches, you put crowns. And by that time, it was nothing different. Right now, I can say that they have implants in the teeth and all that. It's starting going to Mexico, but at the time I came, it was nothing new. But I did find a friend that introduced me to my husband. And my husband started going out. He was my friend, and he took me to the library, he took me to the museums, he took me everywhere to know Kansas City, and I fall in love with Kansas City.
Except you went back to Guadalajara, didn't you?
I did, because my father came to pick me up, and he says, "Why is it taking you so long? You need to come back." So he came, and then he took him also to all the places that I've been, and my father was really excited. At the beginning, he was saying, "I don't like United States. I don't need nothing from United States." And when he came, he said, "Oh my God, even a little tool, they make it so perfect." Because in Mexico, sometimes the quality is not the best. Until now, they're having...
But your father got you back to Guadalajara.
Right.
And your future husband...
went after me.
He went after you.
He went after
That's a pretty good story.
He went after me, and then we got married, and I come back. And like I said, I didn't know very much English at all, but I started looking at the life. I love the freedom the woman can have in here, because at the time, 46 years ago in Mexico, you sometimes don't have a voice. And if you get married, your husband tells you everything what to do, and he doesn't even let you be yourself. Until now, things are changing. The young generations are now really, very different than when I came. So I love the freedom, and I love to be able to do things for myself. And I thought, oh my God, in here we can work. I was so in love to work in Sears, packaging the Christmas, there used to be a catalog, and I had a friend, and she told me, "Come on and work in here. You can probably package all the merchandise." So I started doing that. And then the guy from Sears me dijo, "Why don't you work in the floor?" And I said, no, I don't know English very well. I still don't have my English. And I started going to school. I started looking for places. I went to the Westport High School, where the boy got killed when he was defending his teacher.
Right.
I was there in the school because there's the only one that give English as a second language. Can you believe that? There was no place where you can get English as a second language. I went to the library and find a record that tell you how to pronounce the words and how to move your tongue to make the TH. I got my disc, and I started doing everything. Half an hour, my tongue was swell. It was hurting me. And you don't understand that, because when you move your tongue to make the TH and the PH and the PO, And I start fighting, and then I start going to college. I went to the Johnson County Community College to start giving classes, and my teacher was saying, Clara, you're fighting with that language. And I said, yeah, why did they put a PH? They want an F for photograph. And why did they put a THO when they want to say D? And I was fighting for everything that I didn't think it was right until he says, you're not going to learn until you quit fighting. And I did. I started saying, I have to learn, I have to learn. And I took those discs that teach me how to do some of the words, because some of the words are really hard for me, like to say bird and bee, all those kind of B's and TH, and it was so hard. And like I said, my tongue was sore, but I started learning, and then I had my 2 kids, and
I do want to point out at this moment the importance of the library in your life. Your husband brings you here on dates,
yes.
And you come here to learn English, et cetera. So just
that was
importance
good.
of the library.
Can you imagine?
Okay.
And I didn't even think about it.
You have your family, but you want an independent career.
Yes.
And so you become
a real estate agent. I wanna my brother was here, and he's a doctor, and he started working as a doctor in here, and they have a group of friends that they all come from Mexico. No, from different places, from Latin America, Peru, and Latin America. And I start going with them and say, why don't you buy a house where you live in a little apartment? And why don't you buy a house? How? And I said, well, you have a job making more than $150,000 a year. You can get a house. And I start teaching them how to get houses. So I start selling a lot of real estate to all my friends. And then, from there on, everybody was coming. The wives were coming and asking me, Clara, do you have a friend that is a doctor that speaks Spanish? Sure, I have a doctor. Do you have a lawyer that speaks Spanish? Sure, we have a lawyer. And then they start asking me how to, things that you take for granted, like going and start your light, your telephone, your utilities hook up in the house.
And there was no place to go for this information?
No. And then I started thinking,
Hispanic Yellow Pages?
None of this.
No Hispanic Chamber of Commerce at that point?
Nothing. The Spanish of Commerce started, the Hispanic Chambers started like in 79 or something like that. So, but they were still not
very small and not getting to the average person.
But
and the Hispanic community was growing. The Mexican-American, Mexican immigrant community and Mexican-American community, which Kansas City's always had a fairly substantial community, but it's growing in the 60s and 70s.
Well, when I started the newspaper, it was big, but not this big like it is right now. Right now, when I went to ask for advertising, I said, oh, I sell houses. I can sell advertising, no problem. I went to the store and asked them for advertising, and she said, advertising for what? A Hispanic newspaper, a bilingual newspaper. Oh, we don't have the clothes that you people wear. I said, JCPenney says we don't have the clothes that you people wear. And
such as what kind of clothing were they thinking of?
Well, the
sombreros?
Person that I talked, he thought we wear those big sombreros and huaraches and black or white pants, And I said, do you believe that we dress that way? Am I dressed that way? No, you don't look like Hispanic. Excuse me? And he says, well, the only time that I know Hispanics and the only time that I see them is when I go to the fiestas. And that's the way I see them dressed. So I don't have that kind of dresses. And I was thinking, my God, that was an open. I tell you, I used to have a punching bag in my basement because I started in the basement of my house. And when I get those kind of answers, I got so upset. And I told my husband, if I don't punch something, I'm going to kill somebody. I went to the grocery stores and they told me, we don't have tacos. We don't have the food that you eat. I said, oh, do you think Mexico, a whole country, is based in tacos? The food, the alimentation is tacos? It's just like if I tell you, Americans only eat hamburgers and hot dogs. Am I wrong? And he says, yeah. So I convinced him, and he gave me an ad, and he put a Spanish dancers and tacos and chiles, and I don't know what else, Mexican. Oh, my friends that they were from Spain were so upset, and they called him and they told him the Spanish people doesn't eat tacos. You should put in there a Mexican. Oh my God. So, you know, I went through all this, and I have to educate the American people.
Right,
and
yeah.
the reason for me to have the newspaper is I want to educate my community. And everybody asks me, why did you have a bilingual? And I told them, you know what? Our community know our needs, but the rest of the community doesn't. We need to send these newspapers to the mayor, to the city council, to the people that need to know what are our needs.
And Clara, is that one of the reasons that when you started the Dos Mundos in 1981, it was bilingual? I mean, that was a very unusual thing to do.
Right,
There weren't any bilingual newspapers,
No,
so you weren't just providing information to the Hispanic community in Kansas City. You were reaching out to the rest of the community to tell them about the Hispanic community.
And then it was later on, we start getting into the schools, and then the teachers start telling us, can you send us 100 subscriptions? And we say, oh my God, this is going to be really tough for us, because now we know that we have to be very good in English and very good in Spanish. And like I told him, I have my brother-in-law, he is an English teacher, and he's the one that started with me for the English, because I told him, you know, I cannot do this on English because my English is sometimes not the best. When I spell, sometimes I lose the H, and I just put an F instead of PF. No, but now, you know, it's been 30 years, so now I have a wonderful people that's helping me to write and to proofread. And I have a proofreader that is from Colombia and one from Cuba, and translator that's a Mexican one. Because everybody, you know, when you go and try to translate the articles, if you translate them for Mexican people is one way, and if you translate it for the Latin American people is another different way. So what we try to say is we're going to translate it with the Spanish from the Real Academy from Spain, and that's what we try to do so we can reach everybody with the contest.
Let's go back a second to 1981 when you make this decision to start the newspaper. You didn't have any journalism background.
No.
You weren't a reporter. You weren't.
But I become a reporter, a photographer, a salesperson.
Well, now you're everything: publisher, editor, financer. But in 1981, you didn't have any of that background. You were a real estate agent. You knew that there was information needed in the community, and this is a.
But I started reading books in the library.
Right.
And I went and got
library.
And get some of the, how to start a newspaper, how to write the headlines that get more exciting to the people, how to do this and how to do. I got my books from the library because I didn't want to buy them. I didn't have the capital. And when I started, I didn't really know what I was going into, I tell you. If I started right now, I don't think I will do it. And not with the kind of money that I had at that time. My brother gave me $2,000. My brother-in-law put $2,000. And 3 months, the $2,000 were gone. And we were calling and see who can give us more. So it wasn't, I didn't sit down and figure it out all was going to be costing me. I thought, this is going to help me. This is going to help our community. Because I saw so many of the Hispanic young people didn't go to college because they didn't have money. They didn't believe in scholarships. They said, no, the scholarships is for rich people, or maybe for the friends of the politician, because this is the way it's in Mexico. In Mexico, you have a friend that is a politic, you get a scholarship, but not other way. And I start telling them how they can go. I went to the colleges and I said, do you have a scholarship for Hispanics? Oh yeah, but they never apply. All this goes sometimes to the Black community because the Hispanics never apply. And I started going to the Rogers College and asked them, do you have Spanish? And then by that time, I have my children, Ed and Diana, they were already going to the high school and to the school. And I start going and getting information and throwing information every day. What I want my people is they know that they can be whatever they wanted to be if they really try.
Right. You're proof of that yourself. That's for sure, you and your family. You told me one story about 1981, which I remember as a banker, my former career, that one of the reasons you started the newspaper, or you were able to, or wanted to start it at that moment, is you were in real estate and interest rates had gone to 20%. The great days of inflation, and so nobody was buying a house. Couldn't sell that. But then it must have been hard to finance a business at that point too. You were getting your $2,000 here, $2,000 there from your family, but you had to get somebody to finance, or you had to get advertisers, right? And so you told these stories about these advertisers who didn't really get the fact that you weren't there with a sombrero or a taco.
But I was really determined to go and fight with those people. And every morning I get up and I go and visit 3 or 4 people, and then they start saying, okay, I'm going to give you an advertising. Okay. The Power and Light company, I went and tell them, you need to do advertising. Do you have information in Spanish? And they says, yes, but it's in here. We don't know how to disseminate this information. So I took some of those books that they have, and I put articles in the newspaper, and then they start seeing that it was a good thing because people start learning, so they start giving me advertising, Power and Light company, and the telephone companies, and things start changing because, about 6 or 7 years after I put the newspaper, every Tuesday I used to tell my friends, I'm not doing it anymore. That's it. Today is my last day. And everybody, I have a friend.
Did some members of the family choose not to be home on Thursday, I suppose, Ed?
Some of my friends came to my house first, to the basement, and helped me do the newspaper, and they didn't charge me anything. No, you have to continue. You're doing so well. Our community is getting a voice. Our community, it is an education. And the schools were asking me to send a newspaper because it was such a good learning tool. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't make it as a learning tool, but we need to better our English. But like I said, my brother-in-law got a really good English, so he was really good and have a good English and good Spanish. And later on,
Well, you mentioned, you talked about the Safeway guy not really getting it, but you mentioned to me, when we were talking about this before, Fred Ball and the Price Chopper, and how they kind of got it pretty quickly. Which is, if you go into a Price Chopper in town, you can also sort of see the results of that with all the Hispanic foods, Mexican foods, and other Hispanic foods.
Safeway and Price Chopper were the ones to be in our newspaper, and Price Chopper is still, after 30 years, one of our really supporters of the newspaper. But we helped them a lot because we told them how do they supposed to be having the stores for the Hispanics. And my husband used to tell Mr. Ball, go to Mexico, go and see one of the supermarkets, how they have a tortilleria inside, they have a panaderia inside. And one day he says, you know what, Meño, I'm gonna go. And then when he came back, that's when he opened his 18th Street
right.
store, and it was a really good, because all of us, our community grow, and we start seeing people everywhere, and we start seeing some of the kids going to colleges, and I start getting some of the kids sending me, you need to come to my graduation because I'm already graduated. That was so good for me. Even if I didn't do too much money, see those people, they were so excited and sending me, please come to my graduation. I'm gonna graduate because of you. That really made me feel so good, and see that our community was having a voice, was doing different things, very different. And I said, if the Hispanics do business with the Hispanics, can you imagine we can be a really rich community? It didn't work that way so well, but with the chamber on, and now we're having A lot of people that is very successful.
You're in the middle of one of the leaders of what seems to be a big change and inflection point in the history of Kansas City and maybe the history of Hispanic businesses in not only Kansas City, but nationally. The National Hispanic Chambers started in Kansas City, Hector Barreto.
And we also had a national association for Hispanic publications, tried to get advertising at the national level for all the small newspapers. And we used to go there, and I used to represent the third region, that it was Chicago, Kansas City, Omaha, all this area.
Midwestern cities.
Yeah, and we used to go to Washington, and we used to go to the chamber, and they see us with the heads of the big companies. And I remember saying, are you going to be doing advertising for all of us? And they said, yeah, let's get this and Kansas and Texas and the big cities. And I start saying, what about Kansas City? And when I said Kansas City, everybody turned around and said, Kansas City? Yeah, Kansas City. Do you have Hispanics in Kansas City? I tell you, I put Kansas City in the map for some of those places.
Yeah, but, we need to change that perception for sure.
It was really.
For sure. So you started the business basically in your basement, and you work very hard. You get all these advertisers. You told me you had a lot of help in the earlier days. A lot of the community kind of came together. A lot of inspirational people like Hector Barreto. You've mentioned to me Becky Jaramillo, Ana Riojas. A lot of strong women in Kansas City's
Ana Riojas was my mentor.
History.
She always tell me, I said, Ana, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be dealing with this anymore, because sometimes, you write the articles, and even the chamber one day called me and says, we're going to sue you. You're saying what is this and this, and you're supposed to be Hispanic. And no. I said, I'm a journalist, so the Hispanic goes later. But I'm going to sue you. And I said, okay. But I have a really good friend that was a lawyer, and he was my helper. And he always says, oh, just send them to me. We'll see. And he always called me, Clara, no problem. Don't worry. Tell them to sue you. And when I got in a really big situations, when you up, you don't have very many friends. But Ana, I used to call Ana, should I publish this? Do it. But Ana, they says they're going to sue me. You do it. So, sometimes I got the courage from her, because I'm a woman, and I sometimes the men were trying to tell me what to do.
And it's interesting that the strong women theme here, and your father supporting you at an early age and doing this. You sort of came to consciousness of this in the '60s. Is there a sort of feminist aspect to your character and your drive?
I think so. I always wanted to, because we were seven sisters. We have to be fighting. My mother used to say, you do the job and like to make your bed. You make the bed for your brothers. Why do we? We all the same. They should be making their bed too. No, they're men. And so I used to fight in my house a lot, Let them help us. Let them do this. And so that's when I came in here and I saw the men are 50-50. I fall in love with that idea. Oh, that's my country.
All right. Okay, and so the business grows, Dos Mundos grows, and then you get into radio. You've got now the 3 radio stations.
Problems.
How does that happen?
Well, we always wanted to have more advertising, and we always wanted to help the Hispanic business and the business to really do good. And we were thinking, by the time my son grew up and went to college, he went to Rogers College and he took business administration, but he liked computers and he was really in love with the computers, and he had a friend that was working and making webs and all that, until later on he decided, okay, I'm gonna come and help you. So when he came and helped me, he changed me from the typewriter to the computers. And we used to have one typewriter for doing the whole newspaper. I still have it in my office. Anybody want to come and see it, come and see it.
Smithsonian will want that typewriter at some point.
They were so expensive, the thing. But it was an edit writer. I don't know if you've ever seen those machines where they make the newspaper
Right.
and
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
times. And then when Eddie came and put computers in all of us, oh, that was a really good thing. And then later on, we wanted to have a radio, so and I started working with people that have a radio stations in Spanish, and I give them the news sometimes, and they help them that way and this way. And one of the persons that have the radio couldn't do it anymore. He was really in trouble because he was spending more than what he's supposed to be making. And so the people, the radio stations, we are administrating them. They rent to you the air. So you have to be paying them, and you can do whatever you want with the radio, but you have to be paying. And this guy was really behind like 7 months of a lot of money. So the people came, and because we have the newspaper, and sometimes I was in the radio, they knew me, and they asked me if I wanted to have the radio myself. So I have to take Eddie and Diana, my daughter, and I tell them, should we take the radio? And we all say, yeah, yeah. And we took the radio, but we didn't know anything about radio either. But we did have a good start with the radio, and my son has been there since then. And then we have another radio that also was going out, and they come over and they said, you already have one, you want another one? Okay, we want another one. And then the last one was one of the ones that was with more, you can reach a lot more people. And the guy also was in a big trouble because he got 2 sons, and the sons really spend the money in a way they shouldn't. So they come over and offer us, do you want the radio? This radio will be, you can reach a lot more people with this other radio. So we got the 3rd radio.
So Dos Mundos, 3 radio stations, and now relatively recently you've got 2 more newspapers. Is that right? In Topeka?
Right. We start one in Topeka and one
Odessa,
in
Texas?
Odessa, Texas. And the people call us from Odessa because they seen the newspaper. People move from here to there, or sometimes there's a bus that's called Los Paisanos, and they take the newspaper all the time, and people take the newspaper and take it to their own places. And people got in love with those Mundos, and they call us and ask us if we can go and open one, and we say, oh, I don't know. Come on, and then we decide, okay, we're gonna do like, they sell the newspaper, they sell the ads, and they just send us all the information, and we do it for them. And in Topeka, it's the same thing.
So
they want us to do another 2 or 3, but I don't know.
and there, you've had these great successes, kind of one after the other. Have there been any failures along the way? Anything?
Sure.
Anything you remember that?
Sure. Topeka was open before, and we closed it because it didn't work, and we didn't have the right persons. And in the radio, a lot of times, people is working with us, and then they go away, and they leave us with no people, and we have to be doing everything. The business, having your own business, you know better. Sometimes if the cooker doesn't come, you have to go and cook. Right. Yesterday, we were in Mary Roth's presentation, and my photographer didn't show up. So I have a little camera, and I went in there and take pictures myself again. I said, I started that way, I'm going to do it again. And I got a pretty good
You do what you
pictures
have to
from
do.
Adela Hall, because Adela is my really good friend, and she received an award. And I said, oh, no, I had to put in the newspaper. I'm going to go and take pictures from Adela. So I went and took pictures from Adela Hall. And
That's
so
great.
That's what I'm saying.
Wonderful.
Sometimes people doesn't show up, and you have to do it.
You do what you have to do.
Right.
Nobody's too important when you have to get the newspaper out, right?
Yeah.
And so you've had the success. You've seen the community change a lot. What's the most important change you've seen in the community?
Probably people as start feeling that they can do things, that they see myself, and I don't want to sound terrible, but some of the people that is now in the radio and on TV, They start the colleges when they saw those Mundos. And sometimes they tell me, I never thought I can work in a newspaper. I never thought I can work on the TV until we saw you that you can do everything. And there's people that sometimes send me letters saying, I thank you because you give me the courage to go to college, and now I'm in the radio station or on TV, or, so that was a role model that we need to have. And a lot of the business also in doctors, I usually put the doctors in the newspaper, and I go and do a lot of stories about successful people, Hispanic people, so people can really think, I can do that. And especially the kids, sometimes when they saw somebody that is doing such a good job, they wanted to be there. They wanted to be like them.
Right.
And now that we have like Jose Luis with a business that is going everywhere, and we see so many people from the chamber that are also having business. From the beauty shop to all the business, they're flooring, and they're doing a lot of good business. That's how I love to see my community grow, and we need to see more Hispanics going to college, more Hispanics starting their business, a lot more Hispanics going and get training if they don't have. Like the soldiers that they're coming, they're going to say, where are they going to go? Where are we going to put them to work? Train them, retrain them, and they probably be, our economy will grow with all these people,
absolutely.
And here trying to work and paying taxes and doing everything.
It seems to me there's a much greater consciousness in the community of the past of Kansas City, which has always been facing to the southwest, always been facing towards Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, and ultimately to Mexico. We were founded in Kansas City by the Chouteaus, who were French, but also by Manuel Lisa, their partner, whose parents were Spanish and who grew up in New Orleans and spoke Spanish as his first language, and he was one of the founders of Kansas City. So that it seems to me that consciousness, and you see it with the prominence of the Mexican consul, Jacob Prado, and now Julian Zagoitia running the Nelson and the wonderful Hispanic arts-related things that they're doing. There seems to be a larger consciousness of our Spanish heritage, Mexican heritage.
And that helped our community so much because the kids feel so proud to see their heritage in big places like the Art Institute. And you don't know how the people feel so proud. I went to the museum and I saw the altares de los muertos. This is one of our traditions. We bring a lot of traditions to Kansas City, and I think that sometimes people doesn't realize, we're not only coming here to work and to take away somebody's job. We bring values, a lot of family values. We bring our art. We have people that is an artist, people that is doctors. We have, in all the profession, we have Hispanics in there.
Right.
And now the big corporations know that the Hispanic artists, the Hispanic dancers, they can bring a lot, they use those people for the advertising. When I first started, they use
the taco and the sombrero.
Right. And now they're using some of the very famous people for their advertising because they know, and now they understand the power of the Hispanic market. And the business that they're not doing business with Hispanic community, they're missing a lot because we are really a very powerful market.
Well, that is true, and no one, I think, in Kansas City has done more to promote that than you have, and I think it's it's very symbolic that Dos Mundos, two worlds, that you have brought two worlds together to turn it into one larger world. The two worlds together are a larger world. Yeah. So Clara, I want to thank you very much for this conversation
Thank
today.
you, and I'm so
and
proud
ladies and
that
gentlemen,
you-
Clara Reyes.